Again to another short instructional video courtesy of investingsuccess.ca. Today is the 16th of December 2024. In today's short video, I want to take a more detailed look at the current state of affairs with regards to gold and copper prices. So let's start with a look at what we call the seasonality charts, and these are not always entirely accurate, given that they do not take into account astrology. However, they are what I would call generally accurate. So in the case of the seasonality behavior for copper, take a look at the chart here in the upper left-hand part of this slide. And you can see that generally speaking, we can expect a period of bullish strength in copper prices that typically endures for January and February and even into the month of March. Now, take a look at the chart in the lower right-hand part of this slide for gold, and you can see that generally speaking, we have a period of pretty sharp bullish behavior on gold prices in the January and into February time period. So now let's take a look at some price charts of copper and gold, and let's overlay that then with some mathematics pertaining to astrology, and let's see if we can make the case for what I think is a coming period of strength and a chance to get in and get out of some copper miners or some gold miners or some ETFs that track these metals. So here is the chart of gold futures, and you can see that we've had a pretty substantive rally that took us to a $2,800 peak in price back in the latter part of October. And from there, we had a retracement. And the retracement came back Fibonacci 23.6% of the prior rally. So that's encouraging. And then from the middle of November, you can see that the price of gold rallied and it made another swing high. And that rally was a 78.6% Fibonacci retracement of the decline in October, November. So that's encouraging. And if I take a step back and just sort of look at this general price pattern, I think what I'm seeing is the letter M. And if you look in some of my blogs that I have on Substack and in some of my older written material, Harold Gartley was a notable figure in New York in the 1930s. And Harold Gartley identified what he called the Gartley M and the Gartley W price patterns. You don't see them very often, but when you do see them, they tend to align to Fibonacci mathematics, and we're certainly seeing that here. Now with the M pattern, what Gartley said is it's going to look like the letter M, and on the final leg down, when that final leg concludes, you are going to be staring right in the face of an opportunity to buy. And this final leg down will be some sort of a Fibonacci extension of one of the other legs. And so if, heavy emphasis on the word if this Gartley M pattern holds, and if it delivers, you are going to be looking at a price of $24.50, somewhere in there. So gold certainly could have a bit of a shell shock here, but that ties in then to, if there is a recovery at the end of this final leg, that would put us into January sometime. And that would put us right near the end of one of these 40 bar cycles on the daily chart. And that would then open the door to a potential rebound and into this period of typical seasonal strength. Now, the 40 bar cycle is due to end around the 15th of January. And so, what I've discovered is there are some very interesting astrological events that are going to tie in with that very, very nicely. Now, in terms of copper, it follows on the daily chart a 60 bar cycle. And you can see that coming up here in the end of the end of December, we're going to reach the terminus of the current 60 bar cycle. And you can also see that if we go back to the October 2023 lows, copper generally has been following this uptrending line, which I have on the chart as a gold dashed line. It is absolutely critical that gold hold that thing. And if you look close enough at this chart, what are we seeing? I think we're seeing another one of these Gartley M patterns. So we had the initial rise from October of 2023. We had a Fibonacci 78.6% retrace. We had a rally, which was a 61.8% retrace of that down move. And now we have come down to test the uptrending support line. That in itself has been a 78.6% Fibonacci retrace of the up move from August through October. So it looks like this is all falling into place here, and it's not as crisp and clean as I would like for a Gartley M pattern, but I think that's what is trying to unfold here. Now, I've also overlaid this chart with some Gann square of 9 numbers, and I've used as my starting point the October 2023 lows. And sure enough, you can see that in May of 24, what happened? The price of copper hit a high, an inflection point, and it fell back right at a square of 9 level. It then pulled back and it rallied and it bumped up against, yes, a square of 9 level. It came down and it tested that support line, and it rallied and it bumped up again at that square of 9 level. It has now come down, and there is a square of 9 level, which is right at this uptrending line of support. So as we head into the end of this 60 bar cycle, I think you're going to see an opportunity to take advantage of some copper mining stocks, or maybe some copper mining ETFs, or possibly, if you want to play the futures market, buy some call options or something on copper futures. Now, here's a chart of the COMEX, and you will see in my 2025 almanac, I've included, for the first time ever, some charts for the founding of the various commodity exchanges. So the founding of the COMEX exchange came about in 1933, and it was a merger of 3 or 4 other smaller exchanges in New York, and they all amalgamated into one. And I find it fascinating that on the day that it started to resume operations, July the 5th, 1933, what did we have? Well, there's a very obvious geometric pattern, and the corner points on this parallelogram pattern, the corner points are Jupiter and the moon and Saturn and the midheaven. Now, if I take a look at the price of copper and the price of gold in the context of this COMEX natal horoscope wheel, we see some very interesting things. Now, one of the things that is going to play out here very soon is you're going to have the moon transiting past the natal moon location in the COMEX horoscope wheel. few days later, on January 2nd, 2025, you're going to have the moon passing by the natal Saturn point on the COMEX wheel. That will be followed by the moon passing the midheaven and the moon passing the natal ascendant on the 15th of January, moon passing natal Jupiter a couple days later. But here's what's interesting. We know that the cycles are coming to an end on gold and copper. And in the middle of January, we've got Sun getting very close within orb of making a conjunction to Pluto. Now, there was an astrologer who was very prominent back in the 90s. Her name was Jeannie Long. You may have come across some of her publications. She's got a paper or a book out there called Basic Astrotech. Jeannie Long made it very clear in her writings that when you have these annual events of Sun making a conjunction with Pluto, that tends to be quite often a trend change event for things like copper and precious metal. So I'm really thinking here that we're going to have some kind of an opportunity. You know, copper and gold may not explode and go to the stratosphere, but I do think there's going to be a period of bullishness here, as the seasonality charts do indicate. And anytime I can see astrology more or less lining up to the typical seasonal patterns, I tend to pay attention, and that is certainly what we seem to be heading towards. So then, in the coming weeks, keep an eye on some gold mining stocks, keep an eye on some copper mining stocks, and I know that there are ETFs out there that track copper miners and gold miners. Keep an eye on that stuff, because I think we're going to have an opportunity here for at least some short-term trading in the month of January to take advantage of what I think is going to be a period of bullishness. And that is about all I have for today. So thank you kindly for watching. And just remember that you can find me at investingsuccess.ca. I've got the astrology letter. You can find me on Substack. And yes, the Financial Astrology 2025 Almanac is out in paperback and ebook format. Don't forget to always follow the trend. And some of you, going back several years, may have at one point purchased my book, The Lost Science. I'm in the process of updating that and adding more material, and it will be The Lost Science second edition. And I'm hoping to have that out in the coming months as well. So thanks again for watching. Have a wonderful day, and keep your eye then on gold and copper. Take care.